Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So, how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back to Hustle and Flow. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and today we have a very, very special bonus episode. I have never, ever interviewed 3 people at the same time. So I'm really excited to do this. I don't know what's going to happen, but we are going to have a blast because I have like 3 of my favorite people on the show with me today. So I have Kimberly Lopez, I have Megan Shapiro, and I have Del Friday. So ladies, welcome to Hustle and Flow. I feel like we need like noise. Yay! All right. So instead of me doing like professional bios for each of you, I actually thought I would share with like, we can just do like a quick round robin of I'm going to ask questions and you guys can just kind of quickly answer. And so that we know the order in which we're going, we'll keep with the way I introduced you all. So Kimberly, Megan, Dell. So I don't have to call on you. You'll just do it. Okay. So first question, where do you live? And is that where you have always lived, or did you grow up somewhere else and then move there? And if so, when?
All right. I am in Oviedo, Florida, which is just outside of Orlando. I have not always lived here. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Family moved to Orlando and then spent some time in Gainesville, Florida while I was attending the University of Florida.
So I live in Sacramento, California. I have also not always lived here. I was born and raised in Southwest Missouri and went to Mizzou for undergrad, MIZ. I didn't move out to California until law school in 2006, and I've been here ever since.
I live in Surrey, BC, which is a suburb of Vancouver, BC, which is in Canada. And I haven't always lived here. I was born in Calgary, and then I went to school back east in Toronto at Osgoode Hall, and that's a law school. And then I returned back to Surrey, my little suburb.
We're literally covering all the bases. So I'm in Nashville. So it's like we literally are doing East Coast, West Coast, a little bit in the middle. I'm probably a little bit East Coast, as well as our fabulous, amazing friends who our crazy president trolls in Canada. So we are like all here today, and I love it. Okay. So tell me about your families. Like, I just want everyone to kind of get a feel for who we are. What's going on in your lives with your families?
So I am a mom of 2 who are 7 years apart. So I have an 11-year-old and 4-year-old. I have been married for 10 plus years, and I'm also a daughter. So mom lives close by, and that's the tribe that makes the day-to-day go happen.
So I married a client. It's not as salacious as it sounds. It's not as salacious as it sounds. He was he worked for one of my former clients, and we together have a 6-year-old son, and I inherited along with the husband an amazing almost 17-year-old stepson.
Okay. I have 2 boys. They are age, oh my goodness, 9 and 7, almost 10 and 8. Heather's known me for a long time. My husband and I have been married for about 10 years, and my mother also lives with us. One of the things in my life is we often have other people's children living with us. I'm happy to report at the moment I have no other people's children living in my house. It's quiet. It's nice.
Because you said Heather's known me for a while, I've actually known all of you for a while in different capacities. So I would love for you to share how you first met me and maybe the different programs that we have done together.
Wow, this is like a flashback down memory lane. So I think I first found you through the podcast, and it may have been a Facebook ad. And then shortly after finding the podcast, you were advertising for the mastermind for women in big law partners. And I was fairly new to the partnership and had no idea how to develop a book of business. So it sounded like, yep, this sounds like something I should do. That was the first time I ever did any sort of programming on my own, coaching or otherwise. And so From there, I did Life and Law Live in Miami. And so that was 2019, setting the big 2020 vision, which we all know what happened there. Had FOMO for a couple of months for not doing the 2020 mastermind. So made sure to sign up for whatever you offered next, which I think was, there was summer camp and then sort of a mastermind after that. And then now I've been in the Growth Accelerator, I think, for at least 2 rounds going into the third.
So I found you on a Facebook ad way back in, I think it must have been 2016, I want to say, maybe 17. I know it was for Life and Law and Balance at Miraval, and I know it was the September retreat. And so it was for back then it was marketed toward, I want to say, female attorneys. I don't know if I had made partner yet. I think I went to Life and Law and Balance right before I made partner. And so I went to that. I had no idea what a mastermind even was. I'd never even heard of one. I was just a teeny tiny little baby back then. I was like 33, teeny tiny little baby. But you pitched your mastermind, your year-long mastermind from the retreat. And then by that time I had made partner, I think. And so I signed up for the mastermind thinking maybe I'll learn how to like be a partner lawyer, not just a lawyer. So I did the year-long mastermind. I also did, I think it was like Kimberly, I think I did one of the Life and Law lives. It was at like the Canby in San Diego.
Phoenix.
Phoenix. Yeah, Phoenix. So I think it was not the same year that Kimberly was there because I don't think we met. So I did that. And then I ended up pregnant in the middle of our mastermind. And so with my son. And so I sort of took a little bit of a step back in terms of self-development. And so I was still listening to the podcast. Heather and I were still staying in touch on social media a little bit here and there. But I didn't come back and join the fold again until last year, or maybe it was late 2023, actually, when I think I joined Growth Accelerator first. I've now done what feels like 600 rounds Growth Accelerator. And I say that as a positive thing because I'm like addicted to Growth Accelerator. I just can't get enough. I keep coming back for more. I've now signed back up for the mastermind. And so I think this is now year 2 consecutively of me basically enrolling in whatever Heather has to offer, whether that's Growth Accelerator, retreats. I've been back to Miraval.
Same.
I met Del in person in Miraval this last time. So I'm just on Heather's train for the long haul with no plans of getting off.
I love that. I'm trying to think of when I first like found Heather World. And I want to say I was like searching for podcasts because I was working at as a lawyer at the University of British Columbia. And I had this super long drive. And I feel like it must have been then. And so I was listening to your podcast and I wanted to go to one of the Life and Laws and I waited too long and it sold out. So whichever one that was sold out. So then the next time I was like, I'm going to the next one. And so that was in Miami, 2019. And I went to that. And then I signed up for the 2020 Mastermind and I was part of that, which was quite the experience. So, to 2020. I did summer
2020.
camp. 2020 was just 2020. There was, yeah. And then I have 2 children who have chronic illnesses. And so I kind of stepped back from things for quite a while. And then I went to the retreat last year in Miraval, which was wonderful and a good reconnection.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So yes, I've known you all for a long time.
Mhm.
And so for those of you listening, if you heard the last episode, then you know all about the All In Mastermind. If you've not heard about it, then you can go back and listen to it after you listen to this episode. But these are the 3 most fabulous, I'm calling them the founding members. And you might be like, well, how are they founding members if the applications are not even open yet? Well, it's because I went to fabulous alumni who I thought would be a good fit and invited them first. And so 3 of the spots are already taken by these fabulous ladies. And they're truly like dream clients to me. And so I thought, we really need to bring the crew together so that everyone can get a feel for who's in the group, make sure that, we're all matching the same vibes. And yeah, just really let you hear from the people who are already in and we are building around them. So all of you are, as you've already shared, you came to me back when you were you were attracted to legal type programs, and you all still have your foot in law. But what we're working on in the 2026 All In Mastermind is not your law firms. So I would love for you to each share kind of like both things, like what it is that you do full time, as well as what it is that you are working on in the All In Mastermind, your other business.
So I am a AmLaw 100 law firm partner, specializing in commercial litigation, representing a lot of banks and financial institutions. So that's my 9 to 5 job. And what I'm working on in the mastermind and what I've been working on in Growth Accelerator is last year I started by kicking off a podcast called Latina Legal Minds. And much thanks to Heather and kind of the work we've done in the Growth Accelerator, I'm growing that to be a real community and really being more events focused. I hosted an event in 2025, and I'm looking to grow from there and hosting a summit as well as a mastermind-like program through Latina Legal Minds, hoping to change the narrative about Latinas in the legal profession.
And you had your first Power Summit in February.
Yes. All because of the Growth Accelerator. So
love it.
So I'm a partner at a full service business law firm here in Sacramento, but my personal practice for almost 15 years now has been almost exclusively construction. That's why I said I married a client. My husband is a superintendent on the mechanical side of things. And so construction really has my heart. I've stuck with construction because it really truly is my passion. So it's no surprise then that when I decided that I wanted to diversify a little bit, find some way to take the edge off of the constant conflict of litigation, that I stuck with my construction family. And so what I've been working through with Heather, again, in Growth Accelerator like Kimberly, and what I will continue to work through in the All In Mastermind in 2026 is my side business, where I sort of focus on what I call the 3 C's. So I focus on construction contracts, I focus on communication, and I focus on community building. And so what that looks like is I do both one-on-one and team training for construction leaders who want to learn how to review, redline, and negotiate their construction contracts like a lawyer so that they don't need to hire one every time a new contract comes across their desk. I also have the Do It Like a Lawyer brand where I focus on women in male-dominated industries and helping them take back the power of communication and negotiation, and doing that again through the lens of the lawyer-like frameworks to help them really take their seat at the table in male-dominated spaces. And I build community by, like Kimberly, I also have a conference. We just wrapped up a couple of months ago, year 2 of my conference called Converge Construction Summit. And I just recently announced that 2026 is going to be in Chicago. So we'll be heading to Chicago in June 2026. And I will be working through how I can make that even bigger and better than it has been the last 2 years. And that'll be my primary focus for the mastermind.
I operate my own firm. And so it's just me and a virtual assistant. I do wills and estate planning for clients, and I do probate applications as well. I've been doing that for about 5 years. That's what I was working on in the 2020 mastermind. And now I'm trying to add some consulting. So I want to do consulting for lawyers and working primarily on intake and marketing. And so that's my plan. And we're starting in 2026. So the fall of 2025, I'm just starting up, getting my plan organized so that by the time we're at 2026, I'm running and going. So that's what I'm working on right now.
And Dell is in, because she has not done Growth Accelerator, she is in Growth Accelerator this fall. And for those of you who listen to the other episode, if you sign up, if you apply, interview, and if you get invited and sign up by, you got to get your application in by September 26th, you can join Dell and this fall Growth Accelerator, where we really are going to define the branding, the marketing, the sales, basically everything that Kimberly and Megan have already done with me. So I would love to hear from each of you why you're excited about the All In Mastermind. Like, why did you sign up? What made you want to say yes?
So for me, it's just seeing the progress and growth I've made with just about every Growth Accelerator and every program led by Heather. So, I think went to Miraval last year and really came with this trying to find like who I am again, or kind of separate my lawyer life from my identity because it becomes so much a part of us. And so I'm really looking forward to the mastermind next year because I'm really leaning into something I'm passionate about and that I really want to see succeed. And it gives me that creative outlet that I don't get in my day-to-day legal practice. So I'm really looking forward to growing that and really seeing it come to life with all the thoughts and dreams that I've had over the years about it.
So like I said earlier, I'm just on the Heather train, so I'm along for the ride. I'll go wherever the train takes me on the tracks, but which is true. But I was a little bit more thoughtful about investing in my time and my monetary resources in Heather. And for me, my answer will probably come as no surprise given what I just said earlier about my own business that I'm growing. For me, the biggest aspect is the community building of it. And the real thing that keeps me coming back to Heather over and over and over again is because she is such a rare person. Or you are. Should I be speaking to you, Heather? Should I speak to the audience? I don't know which.
However you want, because I'm listening and all kinds of other people are listening.
I know. I'm like, oh God, I'm talking about you like you're not here. It's so awkward. But what makes you, Heather, very unique, and what I think is your true value for somebody like me is you understand both. And by that, what I mean is you understand law firm life. You know what it means to be a lawyer, to be in private practice, to be a partner with all of the expectations, pressures, time management issues, all the things that entails. And you understand the entrepreneur life. And so I've never seen another single coach that can really come from both of those perspectives and help us find that balance and not get too far focused on one thing over the other. But when we do have to, like, for example, I have a trial coming up, and so I have not been as participatory in the last couple of weeks as I usually am and how I like to be. But instead of being a coach who doesn't understand the demands of a full-time practicing attorney and saying, like, you're just not committing, you're not being dedicated enough. I know you're laughing because that's absurd, right? But a coach who doesn't understand what it means to be a lawyer would come at me like that, right? Instead, you're like, okay, yep, it's trial time. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's trial time. Prioritize that, focus on that. We're here when you're ready. Here are the recordings so you can listen to it in your own time. And so for me, that's like the biggest differentiator. That's not even getting into the actual ROI, because again, when we're talking about an investment, I'm a little bit weird here. I actually don't necessarily care about a financial ROI, but I know I'm the outlier. So I say I don't really care about that because I don't, but I also am getting a financial ROI from the work that I've been doing with Heather since I came back in the fold after stepping back for a few years. The growth I've seen, the clarity in direction and purpose, the pivots that I've been able to make in my side business with not only Heather's guidance, but also the feedback and support from the rest of the women in the groups, because I've been fortunate enough to be with Kimberly the whole time, but we've also had some other women come and go in some of the other sessions that we've had together. But I've had Kimberly all along for the ride the whole time too. And so it's just truly, it's all of those things. It's community, it's ROI, and it's having a coach who really understands the unique position that we are in as women who are practicing law full time and trying to build something separate and apart from that. So that's what keeps me coming back.
Megan, ROI. I don't think I thought about that. Now
I'm
I'm
so
gonna
glad,
have to.
Del, because I felt like a weirdo that I'm like, I don't care about ROI, whatever.
Well, when we talk about ROI, like I do ROI on almost everything else in my life, right? I'm like, oh, I don't know if we should be doing that. And I start, have you done the math? Have you done the math? Right? I do math with my clients all day long. Like basically, when you think about wills and estates, that's personal finance, right? And yet, I have to tell you, my decision was not based on ROI at all. My decision to join, I think, was based really on thinking about how can I do this a little easier for myself? And knowing that, I've built businesses before. I'm currently in a business I built myself and probably built it the hard way because we were in the midst of COVID. My first day in my firm was March 13th. 2020.
Oh my
I remember being like, that was not a wise day to start. Like Friday the 13th is the day I left my job at UBC and started this firm. And it was maybe, I did go back to UBC for a little bit because of everything. And, I work part-time, I would say part-time in the firm, lawyer part-time. Other people will tell you that I work full-time, but I'm not doing full-time lawyer hours in this firm. Um, but one of the things I was looking for was community because I'm a solo lawyer and, right now in the basement, toiling away and in my t-shirt and shorts and not even, getting dressed up to go see clients or doing anything like that. Um, Having the accountability of seeing other lawyers who get it and who, like you said, aren't saying like, well, you need to work harder, or we know how hard we can all work. And in fact, probably the nice thing about being with a group of lawyers is that we often talk about like dialing it back a bit and like you are working too hard and I actually know how hard you're working. Um, and that doesn't seem healthy. And so having a group of women around and perhaps a man, I don't know if there are men in this group or not, but I always welcome them as well. But just having a group of like-minded people is great. And I enjoy Heather always has the most interesting people around her. So I love the network. And perhaps that's where often my ROI is just the people that you meet. Um, but having accountability was one of the things that I needed. And I have ADHD, you might be able to tell. But sometimes it shows up in weird ways in my practice. And one of the things it shows up in is that I'll overwork stuff and I get anxious and set up like 10 million systems around myself to try and make things work. And I will go down a rabbit hole that's not necessary for me to go down. And one of the easiest ways to stop that I've found is having someone to have some accountability and to have some deadlines and set a pace and have someone say, hey, maybe you shouldn't start a podcast, a YouTube channel, and run an event, right? Like let's dial it back a little bit and just do one of those. And so that's what I have found masterminding with people has always helped me. And then recognizing my wins when I get a win, because it's nice to be able to come back to a group and say, hey, this worked. And this is what the result was, because my husband really does not want, he doesn't care. And so it's nice. And my other lawyer friends here often think that like I'm crazy to want to do consulting on top of the firm. Like, why isn't the firm good enough? That's often the comment. Like, why don't you just go do another will and you'll make more money? And and instead of trying to add a new business line to your firm, or hopefully it's something I spin out completely of the firm. Um, but people, yeah, most lawyers don't think the way that Heather does or that the people who Heather attracts think.
And just to be clear, for those of you who saw me pointing and Megan hiding, I think this relates to, so with the growth accelerator, like these are the things I will call you out on. I am constantly making sure that you are focused, at least in our group discussions, so that you're not off doing 50,000 things that won't lead to results. So I have led masterminds in a million different ways, and you've all experienced different forms of them. So for you, Megan and Kimberly, because I know, Dell, you've not experienced it yet, but having experienced the different formats where we now do every other week and where we do the 4-month sprints, how has that in your mind helped you? Or for those maybe who are listening who have done a prior mastermind and they've not experienced it in this way, just your thoughts in general, what you would convey to them.
Yeah, I think it's, the sprints in the 4 months is like, it's very, what I call like project specific, right? So you kind of start it and we say, what are we going to work on? And, we can work through that, whether it's not starting a podcast like Megan dealt with, or, whether it's my summit. The best example, and I think you've referenced this on another podcast without naming names, so I'll admit to being the person, but I showed up and I said, oh, I'd love to host a live event. And you're like, great, when? And I put a date that was like well over a year out. And Heather said, absolutely not. So we're going to do this much sooner. And that was in the fall growth accelerator. And sure enough, by the end of the call, I had committed to hosting in February, which was just about 4 or 5 months away. And I did it. And so that was all through the work of the growth accelerator, because every other session, the homework assignment was setting me toward that goal. So whether it was like the marketing copy or sales page, it was very task specific, and that's how I operate. I like small finite things, because like Dell said, we are lawyers and can overwork things, but having like a clear path in like small breakable tasks was like super helpful to get to that project goal.
Yeah, I totally agree with Kimberly, which no surprise because again, we've been in together. But for me, I thought so we both started in like original Growth Accelerator. We're now in Growth Accelerator Plus. And Growth Accelerator itself is a little bit more structured in terms of what Heather has predetermined is the work that we will do before you get to Accelerator Plus, which then you get a little bit more power of deciding what kind of projects, to use Kimberly's language, that we want to work on. And I really appreciated having that foundation because it was really, I was in the beginning, and I think Kimberly was too. We were both in the early days of sort of tiptoeing into starting separate businesses outside of law. And so for me, having those like targeted almost lessons of like, I'm actually going to teach you some things, then we'll talk through decisions that you can make based off of the things that we've taught you, was like so helpful for me to really like get a clear vision, because I don't think I would have been able to come in to Growth Accelerator, the first round of Growth Accelerator Plus, with ideas about what I wanted to work on if I was still toiling in the land of like, but what are my brand colors and what really is my message and what's my voice going to be? Like, without having those types of clarity checkpoints along the way, I don't think I would have been able to make real progress. And so I really liked how we started there. And then it was like, okay, now babies, you've done the baby work. Now you're like toddlers. So you get a little bit more. Now I'm going to give you I'm going to give you choices of what you want to work on, right? I'm still going to keep you within the confines of your boundaries, Megan. No, you can't start a podcast and plan a conference at the same time. I'm going to keep you in the safety of like our bubble here, but we're going to give you a little bit more freedom. And so I think doing it in those 4-month chunks also made that kind of boundaries more palatable, right? Like if I'd been in a year-long mastermind, like it was the very first time I did it with Heather, which I admit I was very, I should not have been in a year-long mastermind at the point that I was in it. I was not in a place where, probably because I didn't know what a mastermind was, I wasn't showing up in the way where I was ever going to get anything out of it. And I'm sure it must have been endlessly frustrating for Heather. I'm glad that she was willing to take me back when I had matured and grown a little bit more. And so for now, though, with having it be 4-month chunks, I can receive, no, you can't work on that this time, because it's not no forever. It's not even no for a whole year. It's let's be a little bit more focused on one thing. And then when we get through this one thing, if you still want to do the podcast, Megan, then in our next 4-month cycle, that can be the thing we focus on. And surprise, surprise, because Heather's a strategic genius, I didn't want to, like, yeah, that tided me over. I was like, okay. And then when we came back, she's like, so are we podcasting? And I was like, nah, not yet. Maybe never. Maybe never. Maybe next time. I don't know. So all that to say that I like having it broken up in 4-month chunks, because not only does it help with the accountability, not only does it help with solidifying and identifying one specific thing to work on, but from a mindset thing, if you're like me and you want to do it all right away at the same time, it really helps kind of like rein that in a way that is easier to digest and accept.
Here's the big question for all of you. What kind of people do you want? Who are the other 9? Who are the kind of people you want to attract? Like what kind of energy? What kind of, just
the people that I really liked my group in 2020. We had a little small group of 4 people. And what was interesting in our group was that we had a non-lawyer. So I'm looking for some non-lawyers. Also, people who are open to people talking about their ideas, and because it's hard if someone doesn't like to take input. So I like people who like to be in communities, like who are excited to see us, who um, want to have feedback and who have feedback to give. And one reason why I'd say also non-lawyers would be someone who has time, right? So if you are a lawyer, someone who shows up at the meetings and is like done a little bit of work. It's hard to go to a mastermind and you've done all your work and then the other person like kind of shows up and they're busy and not fully present, and sometimes like the thing you want to give back to the mastermind is like input on their stuff because they get you all excited about their stuff, and then when they show up and they're busy and have to leave early or do something, it's like boom boom boom. And so yeah, I'm looking for people who are excited to be there and who are working on a project that they just need some fresh eyes on it and are excited for our input as well. And I think that makes a great mastermind. I've done masterminds with lots of other people besides Heather. And what I liked about Heather's mastermind is that generally they're very organized. And so when you go to other masterminds, I've been on masterminds where people just come late, they don't have anything really prepared, or they just kind of, well, I'm working on da da da. And you're like, but last week, and they don't really want to talk about it. And like, there's just, they're not willing to take any accountability. I've also been in a mastermind where people were a little mean to each other and they were like, you can do it. And so don't come if you're a little bit mean, please.
Yeah, I would agree with like the creative people, right? I think it's so cool, like because we learn so much from each other and just hearing about each other's projects. Like I've been working with Megan for so long. Like sometimes I have an idea and I'll email her like, no, you got to look at this. And I love that. And so we need people who are open to that and open to hear other suggestions and who like to think out the box. But I'll also say it's people who are ready to make this commitment to themselves. And I think in any mastermind, it's like you have to be ready to dedicate this time to yourself, because that's how I view it. Yes, I'm trying to work on this, what is a side business or a different project, but really this is the time for me to be creative, to give myself those things I'm not getting in my legal practice. And I would be remiss to not say that since doing this work with Heather, my legal practice has also soared because I apply some of the kind of entrepreneurial skills and thought process to building my legal book of business. So it's not wholly lost or completely separate, but just having that space and being ready and willing to dedicate that time for no one other than yourself, I think really makes a strong mastermind candidate or participant.
And actually, I'm going to deviate from the question because that's a great point, Kimberly, and I just want to echo that as well. I have also gained law firm clients also. So to the ROI conversation earlier, it's not just limited to like separating out the law firm versus the quote unquote side business. So I've also gained additional clients as well. So I want to echo that as a potential outcome as well. I also, to echo sort of what both Dell and Kimberly are saying, again, like obviously Heather is an invaluable resource, but I don't want to understate the value that I've gotten from the other people in my groups. Obviously, Kimberly, we've talked at length about how we've been together, but as I said earlier, we've had other people in and out as well. And everybody brings value because they are invested, to Dell's point. Like it, so I want people who are going to get genuinely excited and invested in what we're all working on, because I want Heather's guidance, but I'm also super open and happy to receive and often implement feedback from Kimberly and others in the group. So I want people that are going to get excited and invested in what I've got going on because I'm bringing that energy back, right? Like I was super stoked about Kimberly's conference. I was like sharing about it to my LinkedIn community. Like I wanted her, I genuinely deeply wanted her to succeed. And I know she felt that about me too. She does. She sends me great ideas that I steal all the time. And it's great. And so I'm just looking for keeping that vibe of like genuinely invested, here to work on sort of the same types of big goals. Whether, I mean, yeah, Kimberly and I both happen to be planning conferences at the same time, but our niches are very different. And even if we weren't planning conferences, we both would be equally invested in our projects. I just mean looking towards trying to build something that brings a balance to just doing law all the time. So I want people that are going to build a community, stay in community, show up, show out, be here, be in it, be with us for the long haul, like ride or die, man.
So I'm going to wrap us up because look, there's so many of us. We could probably go for 3 hours on this. But people who are open to ideas, people who are also willing to share their thoughts without being, here's how you do it, you're doing it wrong. Because while I have strong opinions, I too want people to be authentic to who they are and what they want. There is not a right way and a wrong way. And so just really being in that space of collaboration and support and cheerleading and truly showing up, doing the work, moving forward, and us getting to celebrate those milestones just each step of the way and really support each other. Like that's the good, juicy stuff. No one who is like dabbling. They're like, I may or may not do it, like you don't have to be like dedicating 40 hours a week. But if you're not serious, for me, that's not fun. I like people who are like truly all in. That's why we're calling it the all in mastermind. And last but not least, they like to have fun. Because I like to have fun. And if we're not having fun, like what is even the point? What is even the point? So Del, Kimberly, Megan, thank you so much for coming on to Hustle and Flow. Thank you for doing this bonus episode with me and letting everyone else meet you. And I cannot wait to find out who joins us.
Yay.
Hey, thanks, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
Everyone next week. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.